The teen years, as we know, are already tough enough simply for the biological and physiological changes that are happening. And then when kids are saturated with information that really overall carries a negative tone, in conjunction with emotional deep dives and therapy light in schools, thanks to SEL's push to make everything about your feelings, well, it's suddenly not so surprising that we see the crisis in mental health that we do in kids today. To help us work through all of this and hopefully come to a hopeful conclusion, we're joined by Robert Pondiscio, Senior Fellow at the American Enterprise Institute. Robert had a distinguished career in media before making the leap into education in a total career change, and now he focuses on K-12 education, curriculum, school choice, and charter schooling. Welcome to the program, Robert. Oh, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Thanks, Missy. Thanks for having me. I'm not sure my career in the media was distinguished, but it was long. Yes, I can.
That's long. Well, I think it was pretty distinguished from what I read, so it seems pretty good to me. But I'm excited to talk to you about your topic here, because what really brought it in was your articles, several pieces that you've written about the doom and gloom in particular, and we're thinking that this is just not something that's really being addressed at all. Not really. So, why don't you start off with, why did you think that this topic, first of all, how did this even come to your mind? Why did you think of it? And why do you feel like it's important now to start raising awareness?
Sure, thanks. Well, I occupy a somewhat odd space in this work. I was a classroom teacher for 5 years. I taught fifth grade in the South Bronx at PS 277. And that was, as I alluded to a moment ago, a mid-career public service stint. There's a program in New York City called the New York City Teaching Fellows, and it signs up mid-career professionals to spend 2 years teaching in hard-to-staff schools. So this was not supposed to be my career. This was going to be a 2 year, do-gooder mid-career public service stint, and then I'd go, back to the media business or some such. And while I was doing that work, I started to really take an interest in curriculum. The ed reform movement. It was the era of No Child Left Behind, for example, and everything was about testing and I got very, very interested, as I like to say, in what do the kids do all day? What are they learning? And for reasons I probably shouldn't bore you with, I got particularly interested in literacy. Fell in love with the work of a guy named E.D. Hirsch Jr., who some of our listeners might recognize from Core Knowledge fame. And curriculum just became kind of the thing that I do. And I give that as background because when I went into the education policy world to continue this work after being a classroom teacher, I remember being kind of surprised that nobody was talking about what the kids do all day. It was all about testing and standards and teacher quality, and I was the weirdo who would say, hey, can we talk about curriculum? Because nobody seemed to want to. So this is a long way of saying I've spent most of my post-classroom career really trying to get policymakers and parents interested in that question of what do the kids do all day? What is the curriculum? How are they learning how to read? What is the math program? On and on. And there's so much work to be done, Missy, because we are so, frankly, incurious about it. Again, I'm not going to ride this hobby horse too much. But what I found when I left the classroom was, we just assume that what kids do all day is all the same, right? That all we need to do is measure what goes in and measure what comes out. And there was just not an appreciation for the very different experiences students could have based on curriculum. So that's a windy answer of saying, how did I get interested in this? Because that's what I'm interested in is curriculum.